Hey guys, what's up? It's RagesSorrow here, and welcome back to Know Your Enemy, my weekly series of boss and guides designed to teach you how to kill the most fearsome creatures in RuneScape. In this week's episode, we'll be covering the Keeper of the Faith in Saradomin's God Wars dungeon, Commander Zilyana using the magic attack style. Always keep in mind, regardless of the boss you face, death is always a possibility, and in the God Wars dungeon, it is very common. Only bring items and gear you are willing to risk, and bring an emergency teleport just in case. Now that we've covered that, let's move on to some general information about the boss. Knowing your enemy is half the battle when killing a boss in RuneScape. On screen now you'll see a list of information regarding the boss's name, combat level, life points, attack styles, weaknesses, attack speed, etc. Familiarize yourself with this information, and then move on with the guide when ready. Knowing the objective of the boss that you will fight is always important, and knowing about the minions that will accompany them is extremely helpful as well. Take time to familiarize yourself with the objective of the Jagex boss, as well as the minions that will accompany him. Take note to special detail about the abilities, as these will become important later. Knowing the attacks and special attacks that a boss can use against you is extremely helpful when facing a boss in RuneScape. Take time to familiarize yourself with the attacks and special attacks that the Jagex can use against you, then move on when ready. Having confidence in your skills and abilities is always helpful before facing off against a boss. I recommend completion of the Ritual of Majora quest for increased damage if you enter the Jagex cave before going to God Wars dungeon, and I also recommend at least the minimum level requirements shown on screen before attempting to face this boss. Choosing the correct weapons and armor for a boss can mean the difference between life and death. On screen now you'll see a list of weapons and armor that you can use when facing off against the Jagex. Always remember to use the best weapons and armor available to your levels, or that you are able to afford. If you are unable to afford a certain item, then simply downgrade. The loot is always the most important part of the boss fight. On screen now you'll see a list of possible rewards and loot that you can retrieve from Commander Zilyana and her minions. Now that we've covered the basics, let's move on to some setups for the boss. For those that prefer the fast attack speed of a wand and an offhand magic weapon, this setup is definitely for you. If you prefer the raw power of a staff, this setup is definitely for you. Now that we've covered everything, let's move on to getting to the God Wars dungeon, shall we? Once you are geared up and ready to go, it's time to head off to the God Wars dungeon. To get there, you can simply teleport using the Trollheim teleport spell, unlocked via the Jagex quest, or you can teleport there using the Trollheim teleport tablet, which is unlocked via the Love Story quest, as well as the Jagex quest. If you do not wish to complete any quests, then you'll simply need to run from here, up through this pathway, through the mountains to get to the God Wars dungeon. But if you do have the Trollheim teleport spell or tablet, simply go ahead and get teleported up to the mountain, shall we? Once at the mountain, you want to go ahead and head southwest over to this little shortcut right here down the mountain. Go ahead and climb down the cliffside, and this will get you part way down the mountain, and this will actually reduce the amount of time that it's going to take you to get to the God Wars dungeon. Sorry for the camera freak out right there. Go ahead and head back up northwest and make your way towards the giant boulder. Now, once you go down this little incline right here, you're going to be changing to, you'll have to head up to the northeast. And as you approach the northeast, you want to go ahead and get your prayer activated for protect from missiles or protect from range. That way you can avoid getting prevent that little bit of damage that you would receive from the thrower trolls right here. And once you pass them, go ahead and turn off the prayer and either lift or squeeze past the boulder. Now, if this is your first time to the God Wars dungeon for Saradomin, you will need to have brought 2 ropes with you. One for the Saradomin encampment and one to get inside the God Wars dungeon. Simply head north after the boulder and make your way inside as quickly as possible, since this area does damage you for being outside. Alright, now that you are inside the God Wars dungeon area, you're going to want to head over to the west and make your way over to the Saradomin encampment. Now, you can normally get your kill count outside, however, it's going to be much faster to do it inside, and I'll show you exactly how you guys want to do that in just a second. Alright guys, once you've gotten your 40 kill count, it's time for you to face the boss. But before doing so, let's make sure we have the quick curses set. Have them set to Protect Item, Soul Split, and Torment, and if you don't have those, then simply use Augury, as well as the Protect from Melee prayer. Once you have done that, go ahead and drink your Overload, drink your Prayer Renewal, and go ahead and get your spells switched back from the Ice Split spell that you used to get your kill count over to Ice Barrage, because you definitely want to be hitting these guys multi-target and not single-target. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time. And don't actually fail at switching them over like I did. So go ahead and set those over as your offhands, and go ahead and activate any scrimshaws or auras you might have brought with you. And once you've done that, you're ready to head inside. Go ahead and enter the boss room, or start an instance by paying 100,000 coins. That way you won't be disturbed if you wish. And once inside the boss room, go ahead and start attacking Commander Zilyana. What you want to do is try to get her, as well at least 2 of her minions stacked on top of each other, which you'll actually see me move around a little bit, trying to get up behind Growler. Now, he's not having any of that, because he's going to try and move up against the wall, and ultimately I just have to move up against the wall and hope for the best. But once you start getting to where your attacks are landing on Zilyana, make sure that you are using your abilities one after the other. Start with Rack, then go to another and back to Rack. This way you'll always have an ability that you can use. Once you build up to the ultimate level, you have 2 choices. One, you can use the Omni power, or you can use the Metamorphosis. Now, Metamorphosis is going to allow you to deal quite a bit more damage with your regular abilities, and Omnipower is just going to deal 1 large strike. So, if you have a choice, I would go with the Metamorphosis first, and if you're still fighting the boss after that, then go ahead and use the Omnipower to finish her off. But you want to make sure to use as many of your AoE abilities as possible. I know I actually forgot to include the Dragon Breath attack on the bar, but if you have room for it and you see an ability that you actually don't want to use on there, then go ahead and swap that in. It's really useful, especially when they respawn and you start attacking the from behind the mage minion spawn, because you're definitely going to get 3 of them piled up there. But after a little bit of time, the boss should collapse, and once she's done that, you simply need to finish off the minions. And then you want to go ahead and pick up your loot. And that's pretty much all there is to it, guys. The simple thing you want to do is find out the spawn location for the mage minion and stand behind that. But other than that, guys, I've been RagesSorrow. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Know Your Enemy. If you did, then feel free to leave a like rating, and feel free to leave a comment down below on what boss you would like to see next. If you really enjoyed this video, guys, feel free to consider subscribing to my channel. As always, guys, my name is RagesSorrow. I hope you enjoyed the video, and have a fantastic day. Peace.